The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, and welcome. Just before we get started, we will have just a little bit of housekeeping just so you understand how you can ask your questions. Some of you may now be looking at a bit of a side panel or something like this on your screens. You will notice this little button here. If you press that button, this panel will reduce in size, minimize. If you press it again, it will open up. So this is controlling the opening and closing of this panel. And the importance of that is you'll have a box for questions, and if you want to ask a question at any point during the presentation, just type it in. On the line also is Justin Bannister of Beyond Philosophy, who will be logging those questions, and when we come to the end, then we can handle questions as we go at the end of the presentation. So that's the basic housekeeping. Just a bit of intro. Some of you may know us. I know that we have a couple of clients online. But what happens Beyond Philosophy here, we are a customer experience consultancy. And what you're going to hear today is how we've worked with Do, and Do in Do's own story, in own words, what they have done. Thought leadership is our differentiator. And we've published a number of books, articles, and always in the press. We work globally, and as a matter of fact, you may know that Do is headquartered and located in Dubai. We focus on the emotional side of customer experience, and hopefully you'll hear some of that in the presentation today. We work with all sorts of organizations, although we have lots of telco experience. We do work with other types of organizations, and in fact, our experience and our expertise is in customer experience, not necessarily in an industry sector, although we have lots of experience in telco, and that's what the sector that Do is in. Again, we work globally, and just kind of give you a sense of where we work, so we are a global organization working around the world. The idea today is to talk about best practices for building a market-leading customer experience. Our guest speaker is the esteemed Subhra. He is the Senior Vice President, Marketing and Customer Experience at Do, UAE's premier quad-play telecom operator. He has played a key role in Do's ascent to a 42% mobile market share position within 4 years from launch, so it's quite phenomenal. And what is regarded as the world's most highly penetrated mobile market. If you've ever been to Dubai, you know what that means. Large expat community, relatively rich society, lots of competition for people, very high usage of mobile, so highly contested market. He has worked in senior management and consulting roles in various telecom operations across the Middle East, North Africa, West Africa, India, and Europe. He's an alumni of Harvard Business School, having completed the advanced management program there. He holds a bachelor's degree in engineering from University of Delhi, and he's an MBA from the Indian Institute of Management. He's an avid guitar player and a composer in jazz, fusion, rock, blues, and style. So basically, he's sort of a millennium man. He studied guitar at the Guitar Institute of London and has master's certificate in guitar from the prestigious Berklee College of Music in Boston. So well-rounded, all-round, nice guy. Subhra is going to be our guest speaker today. I'm Qaalfa Dibeehi. I'm the Chief Operating and Consulting Officer at Beyond Philosophy, and also pivotal in the work that we did with Do was Zecho Dobrev, consultant with Beyond Philosophy. As you noticed in your invites, what we intend to accomplish today is to understand what it takes to become a market-leading or to develop a market-leading customer experience, outline a couple of techniques that were used to differentiate yourself in a commoditized market, ways to evaluate your strategic imperatives, how to build a case for customer experience transformation, and then methods to examine for key customer experience principles all companies must consider. This slide just kind of gives a brief overview of what Beyond Philosophy did with Do and then it includes things like end-to-end assessment, naive to natural assessment, customer experience statement, emotional signature, moment mapping, and experience economics. And I'll point out that the story that you are about to hear is entirely in the words of Do. The slides, these are Do's slides, Subhra's slides. I've simply embedded them in the Beyond Philosophy pack. My main point here is you're about to hear this totally from the client's point of view. And with that, I will hand it over to Subhra.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for the introduction, Qaalfa. This is about 7 p.m. in Dubai, and on a Thursday. The weekend here is actually on Fridays and Saturdays. Today's session, the way I've outlined it is talk a little bit about Do, just a short introduction to give you the context of how we started the customer experience transformation journey, and then talk about some of the key insights that we gathered after talking to a lot of telecom operators, and of course some other from some enterprises outside and from other sectors. And we have basically gathered a lot of insights after talking to people from these different companies, and then come up with a list of about 7 different things that an operator like ourselves needed to do to actually address the customer experience imperatives that we face. And let me start by talking a little bit about Do. We are a very young company. This is our 5th year in operations. We started about 2007 in the United Arab Emirates. 2007 February is when we launched, and at the time we launched our mobile network, the market already had a mobile penetration of about 121%. And then in 4 years, that's till Q1 of 2011, in 4 years we have done about 42% of the market. We have 42% market share, and last year our revenues were in the region of about $2 billion US. So just in a very short period of time, we have been very successful in gaining a lot of market share and then growing our revenues to that extent, considering in 2007 February, we were just, that's when we actually started, from almost next to nothing in revenue. So a very fast-paced growth. A lot of the growth obviously came through acquisitions. So the focus at the beginning was where there was acquisitions. And sometime in 2009, just about 2.5 years after we launched, we kind of recognized the need to shift focus from the low, mid end of the market. That's where we actually started, and start getting into the high end. And that's when we realized that we really needed to, focus on customer experience in a very significant way. Our story about the customer experience journeys actually started with a few considerations in terms of how the market would evolve and why is customer experience important. So I think that question is very important to address. A lot of us have insights and have intuitions around why customer experience is important. But when we wanted to gather a lot of alignment and move forward on customer experience, we thought the discussion on why is it important is obviously very much needed. And this is a subject that obviously needs a lot of endorsement and to be led right from the top. And if you go to slide, I think the 4th or the 5th slide, Qaalfa, we talk about the customer experience as actually the 21st century is actually the time for the customer experience economy, where goods and services would be designed, priced, and delivered with an experience in mind. And the reason why the customer experience economy is gaining momentum and will continue to be very dominant in the years to come is because there are 2 sets of drivers. On the one hand, you have enterprises and companies wanting to figure out new platforms for differentiation, and customer experience is definitely one of the platforms for differentiation. But also to arrest any kind of downward slides on prices. In a lot of markets we see a lot of price-led competition. So customer experience, in a way, is a way to arrest the downward decline in prices and kind of move to extracting premiums, from some of the key segments. So for businesses, customer experience is important because it's a differentiating platform. It's another differentiating platform, and essentially a way to arrest downward declines in prices and start extracting premiums. But the most significant driver is essentially coming from the customer side, where given the new, the changes that we see around us in terms of proliferation of devices, of digital content, of social networks, and all of this proliferation getting accelerated and driven again by fast, networks that are getting ever faster on the mobile side and on the fixed line side as well. So all of these things have meant more control for the end customer. And now we, as businesses, we don't have a lot of control about what customers say about us in social networks and this kind of forums. And so the best way to address that is essentially making sure that your house is in order. So because now you are accountable for results, but you don't have a lot of control about what customers are saying about you in this kind of forum. So this we consider the two sets of drivers. If we go to the slide on the Starbucks and the coffee beans, that slide. Qaalfa, are you on that slide? That's slide 5, I think. 5 or 6. Slide 7, sorry. Qaalfa?
Yes, we're good.
Okay, if you go to slide 7, there's a Starbucks. You see those four. You see that the coffee beans as commodities were about 1 to 2 dirham per kilowatt, meaning that's the local currency we use. AED is dirhams. And when it's actually turned into a product, it sells for about 2-3 dirhams per liter, and then it gets about 7-8 dirhams per mug. And then at Starbucks, it ends up at 20 dirham per mug. So that kind of talks about the premiums one can extract, or businesses can extract, when you start, moving stuff from a commodity to a brand experience through the product and the service steps. So that's what is in for businesses directly in terms of extracting premiums from designing experiences. And if you go to the next slide, you will see the change in the customer behavior. Now, this slide that talks about the autonomous customer is a piece of work that was done by Nicola Friedman from BT. She's BT's customer experience futurologist. And this is essentially showing that new kind of behaviors are emerging. And one of the things you will find is very significant is that loyalty is now tied or pegged to customer experience. So there's a bullet point that says 46% say loyalty is a thing of the past. And what we find more and more is that brand loyalty, brand choice and brand loyalty are now pegged to customer experience. So that's a very, very significant thing to take into account. On the whole, there are new ways of customers accessing information, and the rise of self-service, customers helping customers, and then smartphones playing a big role in all of this. And the key thing now to note is obviously customers' behaviors are changing. If you go to the next slide, you see that customer experience is important, not only from a choice perspective. The slide is talking about 51% customers stating that good experience is the main reason for choosing a provider, and 60% for recommending a provider. And the same kind of an approach on leaving an operator is true, is customer experience is a key driver. So now is the time when customer experience kind of takes center stage. There's another slide there in that shows customer experience is now the globally dominant transformation driver. Out of all the CXO drivers for business and operations transformation, you find that meeting and driving customer experience is now the dominant theme. And that's hardly surprising. Now, we had actually, looking at all of this, came up with two conclusions, or these are our two principles that we have. Qaalfa, if you're on the slide, the strategy direction 1, the proposition is the experience, and the experience forms the brand. And for us, that's a very key piece of thinking, and it basically articulates the fact that the proposition is no longer just a product or a service. It is much more holistic. It has to come embedded with the right kind of experience around it, whether it's the kind of support we give, whether it's the kind of processes and systems that we have around it, and also the packaging, with all the kind of deliberate design in terms of emotions, etc., that we want to evoke. So the proposition is no longer just the product or the service. The proposition is the experience, and it's essentially the experience that forms a brand. No matter what we say and what the brand promise is, customers, what they make of a brand is based on how it performs. So that's a very key piece of thinking that we have, and that kind of sets a tone for how internally we see customer experience. There's another strategy direction 2. I think Qaalfa, go to the next slide, and that's about it's all about making experiences memorable. And products are tangible, services are intangible, but experiences are memorable. And I think these are the two tenets, if you will, that are the two, the pillars of our philosophy in terms of how we look at experience and why experience should take center stage, and how we should go about looking at experience much differently and markedly different in a different way from the way we used to approach customer experience before. And before I talk to you about some of the 7 different things, the 7 different vectors or dimensions that we think an operator like ourselves needs to work on, is the fact that customer experience is a process and a journey, and we kind of try to figure out different things, different tracks we need to navigate through. And we probably started this journey sometime in a more structured way, sometime in the middle of or early 2010, and we have reached several milestones, but I think we're setting ourselves a more longer-term, kind of a time horizon for getting the things right and kind of keep pushing the envelope as we go along. So we kind of spoke to several telcos, mostly in Western Europe, and we kind of some of them were known for their the key techniques and approaches they've applied on the customer experience side. I won't take specific names, but I'm going to allude to a lot of those as I go along and talk about the 7 different tracks that a telco like ourselves need to work on. And based on this, the conversations we've had with several CMOs in Western Europe primarily, is that the customer experience movement in a very structured way in Western Europe probably took shape sometime around the mid-20s, mid-2005, 2006, the middle part of the last decade. And that was essentially as a response to one of the factors that was driving the customer experience transformation and movement there was obviously, the growth was slowing, and then they wanted a new platform to differentiate and started looking at experience as a new way to differentiate and start, gaining ground on loyalty, reducing churn, et cetera, et cetera. And so we see about 2005, 2006, several of the key telcos that are kind of setting the standards for customer experience. The work started around that kind of a time frame. And if you go to the first one, Qaalfa is the first one, the audit and benchmark.
Yes.
And there we kind of wanted to find out where we were in terms of our mindset. We wanted somebody to come in and evaluate and do some kind of a benchmarking to kind of say where we are compared to others in this whole customer experience journey. What is our starting position and what does it look like compared to others? And we, after looking at several different consulting firms, we brought in Beyond Philosophy to take a look at our organization capabilities, our mindset of our people, look at our systems and processes, and then give a kind of a score, if you will, on where we are compared to the best of breeds in this area. And if you go to 2 slides later, Qaalfa, we have the knife to natural continuum there.
Yes.
And one of the frameworks that we found very useful that Beyond Philosophy brought to us is they have this 4 different stages in the evolution of any provider on the customer experience front, and that's the continuum is from naive to natural. So it could be naive, it could be transactional, it could be at a much higher state, which is the enlightened, or it could be operating in a natural state. And I thought that kind of had a good resonance internally. And then the explanation of those 4 different stages are there. Naive is when you're unconscious about your incompetence. Transactional when you're conscious about your incompetence. Enlightened when you are conscious about your competence. And natural is when you are unconscious about your competence. And I think the natural companies who are at the natural stage today, from what was highlighted then, are companies like Apple and Harley-Davidson. They kind of operate on that natural stage, and for them, customer experience is embedded across the organization in a very natural way, and they are unconscious that they have meaning the whole competence flows seamlessly across the whole organization in a very natural way. And so on this continuum, based on the toolkit that Beyond Philosophy used, we found ourselves in the transactional stage, and I think that was sometime middle of last year when we did this benchmarking exercise. And we looked at different, aspects of our business and our capabilities. And if you go to the next slide, it shows 9 different dimensions on which Beyond Philosophy measured us, and they range from the people, the absence, or the type of customer strategy you have, systems, measurements, our approach to the channels, expectations, marketing and brand, processes, and culture and leadership. And so they interviewed people across the organization, all across most levels, starting right from the top. And then we got a score. Not only did we get a score, we kind of figured on each of those 9 dimensions where we are compared to best of the breed and average. And then we kind of got some concrete plans in terms of how to make progress on those 9 dimensions to make sure that customer experience is a very sustainable, is embedded within the organization in a very sustainable way. Because if it's not embedded from deep inside or within the organization in a very deep way, then the customer experience that we deliver would not be sustainable over time. So this was a key piece of work that we did, and we kind of got the action plan for working on those 9 dimensions to make sure that the organizational capabilities for designing and delivering customer experiences, are deeply embedded, and they're kind of sustainable as we move through the different quarters. One of the key approaches, Qaalfa, if you go to the next slide again, is the approach that they have about emotional signature. So till the time we started this project, we were essentially measuring customer satisfaction, which is basically an exposition or the scores that we get on the rational or the conscious experiences that customers have across different touch points. And we used to use customer sat, and then NPS had just started route sometime early last year. The key piece of work that Beyond Philosophy did, which was very practical for us, I don't have all of the slides, but I can send you some if you're interested, is this whole piece about emotional signature, which is essentially about measuring the emotions of people, of our customers. And when I say emotional signature, obviously this is the what is there in the subconscious experience or on the emotional side. And they had a very interesting technique, structured equation modeling exercise that they did, a very detailed one for the market, that's the customer research that they did. And then they uncovered the different attributes that we had for different segments. Actually, I don't have them here in this presentation, but this was a key piece of work, I think, that provided a lot of value to us. And what this basically does is, it says, it starts with the premise that there are 20 emotions that can create or destroy value for a company. There are 20 different emotions, and some of them are, some of them are used, to recommend. Some of them affect advocacy. Some of them are distracting and they destroy value. So we had those 20 different emotions that can create or destroy value. So the exercise we did was for the different consumer and enterprise business segments we had. So 3 on the consumer side, premium, value, and budget, and then 2 on the business side, which are essentially SME and large enterprises. We came up with a list of about, I think, 30 or 35 different attributes, ranging from the timely delivery of a bill, the way our people, the uniforms, and the behavior of our front customer-facing agents in our retail stores, the decor of look and feel of the retail stores, to the brand promise that we had. So we had a list of, I think, 30 to 35 different attributes for each of those different segments. And then we got, for each of those, through the structured equation modeling work that Beyond Philosophy did, we uncovered which attribute was creating value for us and which ones were destroying value for us. And I think based on this very, quantitative exercise we did, we uncovered very quickly that the worst experiences were actually at our retail outlets. The billing was a serious area, meaning an area where we had to make a lot of, those were the pain points, and we had to really look at it in a more serious way. So it kind of helped us identify for the different segments what was happening in the marketplace, and based on not just what customers say, but using structured equation modeling and emotional signature, basically uncovering what was going on subconsciously, and then they used this knowledge, the customer set and the emotional signature kind of approaches to identify for those different attributes per segment what was destroying value for us, what was creating value for us. And we even knew the extent to which the value destruction or the value creation was happening. So those were specific pointers for us to attend to. Those were basically, this whole exercise enabled us to identify the pain points and the key attributes that we had to attack first. So in a way, this is also not just uncovering which attributes are creating value, destroying value for you, but it's a great way to prioritize which ones you need to attack first. And I think we took the learning from this particular exercise, and then we also created internally a firefighting unit, which was, was basically a rapid response kind of a team that immediately started working on the areas identified, which are around, the experience at our stores, the billing and payment experience, and then the the process of ordering and order management, basically for our fixed line customers. So those are the 3 things that came across, and then we formed a customer excellence program, if you will, that was basically set up to address the issues in these 3 different areas, in a firefighting mode. And so that group has made a lot of progress since then, and I think we have achieved a lot of success now on those 3 on the billing and payment side, on the order management side, and on the retail experience side as well. So that is how this whole exercise kind of gave us a new technique or a new way of looking at which attributes are the ones which are the pain points for customers based on customer feedback. And we plan to do that exercise annually so that we kind of have fresh data every year. So this is the kind of work that we did during the audit phase, and then formed a lot of plans which started looking at addressing some of our pain points immediately. If you are interested, I could send you one or two slides that gives you a feel of the numbers and the kind of approach on this particular emotional signature side, on the emotional signature side. Then one more point about auditing and benchmarking is, if you go to the next slide, Qaalfa, this is about the product and customer experience design and delivery process. In our discussions and the conversations we've had with several of the telcos, one of the things we uncovered is every company obviously has a stage gate approach to taking a concept from an idea stage to launch and beyond. There's a stage gate approach. It's known by different names. And for us, one of the things that we found is a lot of the operators have started to make this whole process give it a more customer experience orientation. So you had one of the best examples we found for one of the leading telcos in the UK is they call the whole what we used to call as a product lifecycle development process. They call it the customer-centered design process. So it's more of a design approach to doing things and around design around customers. So we found several examples where this whole product lifecycle development process that kind of is a key business process for generating the revenues and top line for organizations. That started, and that's the key process obviously delivers products and propositions very regularly to the marketplace. We found from our conversation that particular process was severely changed, and it was given that customer experience orientation. And several of the companies that actually started working with organizations like IDEO in Silicon Valley in California to start imbibing more of design thinking and design center, customer-centered design kind of approaches, and started embedding them within this whole product lifecycle design process. So we found it interesting, and then we came back and we kicked off a full revamp of this product lifecycle development process. We started, and that process is currently on. We found our product lifecycle development process is probably, on a scale, you probably give it a B minus or a C plus, and we wanted to have it up to A plus in terms of quality and in terms of sophistication. And so we started looking at who could provide us that kind of level of sophistication. We found some good firms in the market that actually addresses this whole product lifecycle development process in a more sophisticated way that focuses not just on project management, but also how pipeline management. I think that's a very key area, managing the different kinds of demands and how we dynamically make decisions around them. And then obviously also getting even to a more sophisticated approach to portfolio planning and portfolio management. So this rehauling and revamping the product lifecycle development process in any operator, we think is a very, very key capability, is a very key initiative that should be undertaken and changed. And so because the best practices or the leading practices now have a lot of sophistication, not just in how it is managed, but also in terms of infusion of more design principles and customer-centered design principles. We see a lot of companies from Frog Design to Fjord to IDEO to Adaptipart. A lot of these companies are helping telcos now shape how the propositions are designed with customer centricity in mind, so to make sure that customer experience is maximized. So we kind of did that exercise as well, and I think we are now basically in the implementation phases now. The second theme that I want to talk about is obviously about defining the intentional customer experience. And this experience definition is not just in qualitative terms, but also in terms of quantitative, in terms of quantifying the customer experience in terms of KPIs and their values. And in this defining the customer experience, the intentional customer experience, we essentially broke it down to 4 components. One of them, the first one, is obviously the vision that you need to have about your customer experience, and this essentially becomes the rallying point, because if you talk about what is your company's customer experience, if you talk about customer experience that your company delivers, the first thing you have to answer is, what is that experience? Can you articulate it in a way that's simple and easy to understand by your employees so that they can actually deliver it? So that vision statement, I thought we spent a lot of time on basically in terms of coming up with different options and then adopting one. Based on the vision, you need to then define the key pillars that would support delivery of those of that particular vision. And in our case, we had we had started off with 4 different pillars, which are about, I'll talk to you about it in a minute. And then we looked at some of the pillars which are used in different telcos. In some of the telcos have done very well or are doing very well on the customer experience side. They make sure that the experience pillars are mapped to the brand promise. So they need to emanate from the brand promise, and they need to be in sync. And they essentially are simple, words that articulate the direction of the experience and why that experience will be delivered. And then also behind those key, key words that they use, and I'll give you some examples in a minute. They also have a checklist or some points for each of those words that are used as pillars for the customer experience. For example, if you have one of the companies we saw had 5 customer experience principles, and one of them was fresh. And the way they would deliver fresh, this whole feeling of freshness, is their employees. They had a checklist for their employees, and the checklist kind of said, you deliver freshness by making sure there's something surprising and delighting and delightful inside embedded, something that makes people smile, and something that is markedly different. So you've got to think differently about things. So for every different pillar, which are simple words, which are very exciting words, and kind of gives a feel to the employees and gives them a kind of an orientation and direction in terms of what this experience has to be about. And also, that particular pillar needs to echo or resonate with, or needs to be a manifestation of the brand promise. We saw several instances where they had worked out very well, articulated all of this in a very clear way. And not only the words which are the pillars, like fresh is one example, personal, helpful, but also behind each of those pillars, they had specific, points about what employees needed to do to actually deliver on that particular pillar. So beyond that, we saw that they had a third step, which is about making sure that there are about 10 or 12, 10 or 13 different journeys, right from getting to know to buying, or whether it's paying. So there are those 12 different journeys, and they had taken an enormous amount of time and effort in making sure the standard Those 12 standard journeys across different touch points were well defined and articulated, and they were done in a way so as not to maximize the experience, if you will, for every part of the journey, but to make sure wherever it really mattered to customers, they would embed something really delightful or really wow within it, so as when the customer actually is on that particular journey, he faces a wow somewhere embedded. So this was done, we've seen, to make sure that the allocation of resources and costs were done in a very optimal way. You can actually, if you start trying to wow every customer at every step of the journey, that probably be, may not be the most optimal when you come to the cost and the benefits. So you've got to figure out which ones and what part of the journey you're going to really, which are meaningful and really emotional for customers. We're going to embed a wow, and where a simple, functional kind of experience delivery would suffice. So that balancing we saw was a very key point in terms of making sure that the experience had wows, certain wows embedded at certain strategic points, which were very emotional points in the journey, and for the rest was more or less, were more functional. And so getting that balance right is very key, because we may get carried away about embedding wows all over the place, but that would be obviously may not be the most optimal in terms of cost benefit. So we kind of started to have that practical approach in terms of designing those standard 12 journeys. So right from how somebody would be greeted at the store to how this whole process of selling would happen at the store, and embedding certain kind of wows at certain key points, which in our opinion, through some of the research we had done, are key points you need to leverage in making sure that the wow really resonates well with the customer. The last point on the customer experience part is essentially about defining the KPIs and which are the KPIs you're going to use at different parts of the journey, which are the overall ones, which KPIs are strategic, which ones are operational, and building an ecosystem, if you will, of all those KPIs and more, and then defining the values. Now, defining the values, we had a certain kind of approach which we are refining now, because it's just about making sure that you don't start doing too much in one when it may be counterproductive. So these 4 different steps we thought are, these 4 different steps are what we think needed to be done in order to define the customer experience. It's about articulating the vision. It's about defining the pillars that will support the vision. The pillars need to have ideas or words that articulate not just the feel of the experience, but also give some actionable, give some very clear exposition of things that an employee would have to do internally to make that, to deliver on that particular pillar that basically goes towards realizing the vision. And then the third one is about doing the standard customer experience journeys, and then the fourth one is about KPIs and the values that you need to have on those different KPIs. The last one here is obviously about when you design new propositions, and every time you come up with a new concept, etc., how you take it to market. We found that the customer-centered design processes that a lot of the telcos had a lot of elements within the process that made sure that any of your segment guys, anytime they come up with a new concept, making sure how we think about the experience, how do we make sure that the end-to-end experience is the most optimal. And that customer experience design process is essentially takes care of a lot of the details about how you go about designing the experience. And most of the times what we've seen is a lot of design thinking has started take place within organizations. We see a lot of UX people with a lot of experience in user experience design who are essentially driving the entire customer-centered design process within some of the telcos. And we're trying to adopt the same kind of approach by bringing in and hiring more customer experience, user experience kind of people who can basically start looking at proposition design in a very different way, making sure that all of the aspects are well thought through and sufficiently assessed and covered. The next theme is about if I go straight to reorganizing for improved customer experience, this is a key factor. This is a key insight that we gained, which is again about acknowledging the fact that some of the operating models for a lot of the telcos, which operated before the social networking era or the digital era, if you will, of recent times, a lot of the operating models, and governance models that the commercial organization, the commercial part of the organization actually follows, or the entire organization, if you will, is probably not needed to be revamped or needed to be evolved or needed to be complemented with some more new principles of governance and operating models. So we recognize that the delineation of responsibilities between this, we've actually created a new function called customer experience. We had to delineate the responsibilities and the accountabilities of this customer experience function vis-a-vis customer operations and sales, with all the different functions within the company, and we had to figure out a new operating principle, a new operating model for governing customer experience. That work we entrusted it to a management consulting firm, one of the top consulting firms, and we are now actually in the process of finalizing this new operating model and having it implemented. We are probably in the final week now. So the operating model, if you really want to have customer experience embedded within organizations, we think that the existing operating models have to be kind of touched up to basically embody and encapsulate the delivery of the experience. So it kind of means new rules about or new kind of boundaries and delineation of roles between the different functions. If you have a new customer experience function, obviously it needs to, we need to articulate how would the responsibilities be shared and divided across the different functions. So this operating model work that we are doing has given us a lot of clarity and would obviously make a lot of things clear for the entire organization as we go along our task of designing and delivering experiences. Customer experience, as we all know, as we all recognize, has to be a really transversal activity, and there cannot be customer experience. Obviously, means you need to make sure that the silo mentality kind of disappears, which is again a very tough task. But customer experience essentially calls for more unification and basically making sure you really have a horizontal and transversal approach to addressing, to designing and delivering experiences. So the new operating model kind of also has, one of the things that we are now implementing, and I think we had some pilots of this and kind of given us reasonable assurances that really good things would happen, is the entire customer experience transformation, to make it real, has to be a grassroots activity. It cannot be just somebody sitting at the top and talking about some customer experience vision. It has to be realized, and the way to realize it is it has to be pushed out to the front line. The front line has to really understand it, and it has to be, there has to be the sufficient level of empowerment. And so we're talking about a grassroots movement. Everybody has to be mobilized for designing and delivering experiences. And one of the ways, some of the techniques that we found a lot of the operators were using were things like, a middle management, a customer experience board that's kind of formed with people from the different functions, at the middle management level. You have again, customer experience champions embedded in the different functions, whether it's on the business side or on the support function side. There are the so-called customer experience champions, the people who kind of evangelize the customer experience team within those functions, and are also the focal points for making a lot of the changes that are required. In our company, what we've done is we are implementing the customer experience champions concept across the company, and then the customer experience champions actually sit on a customer experience board that would meet once every month, and take decisions about some of the key recurring issues, and do the root cause analysis and make sure that we are actually addressing the root causes and moving on. So a lot of different ways of handling, of embedding champions on making sure that you have new ways of working as you try to mobilize people within the company for delivering customer experiences. And you go to the fourth theme, that's again about the employees and our people. Customer experience is not any one function's business. It is obviously the business, should be the business of every different function, of every different across all levels, back end, customer facing, product managers, senior management. It has to be everybody's business. So it needs. We've done one round of this, but we need to do more of this, which is actually cascading the customer experience vision, cascading the making sure we communicate the pillars and how we will, what all we have to do, the checklist for making sure that the pillars, we deliver on those pillars, making sure that they understand the different journeys, and making sure that there are the list of do's and don'ts. So because 70–80% of the things that we can arm, the agents, the customer-facing agents, based on the different kind of scenarios they face every day, maybe 70–80% of them we can actually have the scenarios planned in advance and train them, but there's this 20–30% that they have to improvise on the spot that actually makes it or breaks it for us at times. So in such situations, this customer experience knowledge, and they have to make sure that they are essentially doing what they can to make sure that we deliver on those pillars. So it's the fourth theme is about making sure the customer experience insights and knowledge and what the brand experience is about is essentially cascaded across the organization. And we have training, we have coaching, and then they have the skills. So all the three different areas we got to make sure the customer experience delivery is sustainable and is essentially done. They also talk about great employee experience as a prerequisite for great customer experience. So in our company, we do the Gallup engagement, scores exercise every year. We do it in December every year, where we kind of get, this is a Gallup standard test that they administer to different kind of companies across the globe, and then you can benchmark yourself on where you stand relative compared to some of the top ones, within your category. And so we do this customer engagement, employee engagement exercise every year, and then we see ourselves moving consistently, and I think that also gives us a feel for where we are on the employee experience side, and moving up on that customer and employee engagement scores is obviously one of the key focus areas, because without that we won't be able to deliver great experiences. The fifth thing is obviously a very, very powerful one, and which is unleashing the power of digital. Now, some of the cases we've seen in Western Europe was before the customer experience transformation actually started to take shape. Some of these companies already had a digital transformation plan where they had to make sure that they kind of have the right platforms to ensure that the companies engage with customers in this digital age, through all these online platforms. And so one of the things, advantages of this approach, where you actually start with a digital transformation, is the digital transformation actually means there are no silos, because in the digital world there are no silos. People can come, they buy, they see an ad, they come, they browse through your website, they can buy, they can, one moment, and they can ask for, some online support, and they would want to pay immediately. So in the digital world, there are no silos, and one of the good things, some of the companies who started off with a digital transformation first, sometime around middle part of the last decade, 2005, 2006, were in really good shape to move on to the next phase, which is a customer experience transformation, because by that time, the silo mentality had started to, started getting addressed, and they had already made a lot of strides on the digital side. Now, some of the great things about digital, and I don't think, and I think all of us will acknowledge this and are fully aware, that in the digital age, customers want instant gratification. They don't want to be waiting, on a call, in a queue. So they want immediate, instant gratification, whether it's a buying activity, it's it's some kind of service issues, etc. They want immediate gratification. And some of the best cases we've seen is in the case of Holland, for example, one operator was already doing 74% of their customer issue resolutions through the online channel, and their customers call centers were open 8 to 8, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 5 days a week, and the rest was all done through online. And so that's the kind of efficiency they have kind of already been able to get to, efficiency advantages they have already been able to gain. And in our market, the digital, if we start do a comparison, our the percentage of online customer issue resolution is next to nothing. So we've got still a lot of work to do there. We have identified some of the capabilities that we need to build on the digital side, and start working on the digital transformation as part of the overall customer experience transformation. We also did an exercise through a leading consulting firm, Etikane, to essentially, come up with our digital marketing strategy going forward. And one of the what we identified is we had to really change a lot of our IT systems to make sure that that's essentially a key foundation of our online activity. So we have a lot of effort in terms of swapping out some of the systems and the middleware that we have, and we have a big effort currently ongoing on the technology side, making sure that we have very robust capabilities on the technology side. And then also making sure that until we are ready, we don't spend a lot of money on online advertising, because you kind of start attracting a lot of customers in. But then if your website, your e-shop, and your e-care capabilities are not developed to the same extent, then you kind of don't really gain the advantages that you'd really want. So digital, again, is a great platform. Obviously, we've seen companies in Western Europe spending at least about 35–40% of their total marketing spend, marketing communication spend online. We do about 7–8%. But then those cases where they do the 35–40% in their websites, the e-shop, the online shop, the e-care capabilities are really, really great, and we are basically working our way towards realizing a lot more online purchases and more online interaction with customers. We've also obviously stepped up on the social network side, and we have agencies who kind of are monitoring all conversations 24/7 related to do 24/7, and immediately taking action together with the customer operations to move in when we see or detect any kind of customer issues. So digital obviously is a huge platform, and to do a meaningful customer experience delivery in this today's digital world, which is all about digital enterprises co-creating with digital communities, whether they are consumers, groups of consumers, or businesses. This whole co-creation between digital enterprises and digital communities. To take advantage of this, we obviously have to step up on the digital side and have all the requisite capabilities across the entire digital funnel, if you will, starting from communications to online presence to online purchases, online care, etc. One of the other interesting things we've seen, two notable ones, and you probably are already aware, but these are specific areas of activity for us. One is around using videos as tutorials or to cascade product knowledge and knowledge about propositions. We saw one operator in the UK now have, I won't take the name, but the name of the operator, gurus.tv, and they have, I think that's probably in one of the top 10, sites in the UK now, where they actually have about 1,000 videos all related to the products, and basically you can search and figure out, how to use a product more, or get more education on particular propositions, or how to do certain things. And this is a great way for customers to really understand about propositions and products in very much like the Apple way. Apple, every time it launches stuff, has accompanying videos that kind of gives a demonstration, and somebody's talking through all the features and how easy to use those products are. So similar kind of approach on the use of videos. The other one is about using the so-called geeks in our retail shops, and having these geeks, young people, very, very conversion, very, very knowledgeable about gadgets, about devices, about technology, who we are now in the process of. We have a plan to deploy in our different retail outlets and in our call centers, what we call the Do Gurus, who kind of be, basically be the reservoir of knowledge in terms of troubleshooting or educating customers on devices, or on troubleshooting any of the kind of issues that they may have. So we're kind of drawing up a plan of going the same way as similar to what Apple has, the Apple Genius Bar approach, where they have these young people who kind of help out customers in remarkable ways. So similar kind of an approach we are using as well, and we see this approach taking a lot of this approach essentially gaining ground in Western Europe, where now there's a specific focus on devices, because smartphones, in this new age where voice revenues are dipping and data revenues are on the way up, smartphones would obviously be a key driver, and therefore the more focus on selling smartphones and having people out there in the retail in the front end to basically support and help customers in that effort. So the sixth theme is about this whole area of personalization, and this can actually provide a lot of teeth to, if you have a wow kind of a customer experience vision. The personalization element obviously is all about analytics and marketing campaign automation, a lot of tailoring of different kinds of propositions, and then also about new capabilities that allows you to monitor and track different trends that are happening in the social network front, and allows you to use all of those insights to rapidly move in and really dazzle customers with the kind of experience. So personalization is again a great area of effort, but there's a lot of tools for automation of the different campaigns, of really using customer analytics and using all the data that we have to basically analyze and then mine them, and then really do something useful with it for our customers' benefit. So personalization has for us many different kind of capabilities that we're in the process of building now. Some we've already deployed, and this is a consistent theme across all of the ones that we've seen, all of the telcos we've seen who are very much ahead on the customer experience game. They have a huge focus on analytics. They have a huge focus on marketing campaign automation, and using data to really, wow customers by having those kind of personalized approach to and segmented approach to proposition design. And then the last one is about, obviously, measurement. And this is ranging from whether you're doing customer satisfaction kind of stuff, or to NPS, whether it's strategic NPS in the sense that you are regularly getting NPS measures from the market, or whether you're doing kind of operational NPS that you actually employ across different touch points. At the end of every call, the customer being able to provide feedback or rate the quality of the experience. So this our measurement, again, for us is a huge effort in terms of making sure we identify the issue areas, and we move forward more in the form of, we use NPS more in the form of compass rather than a GPS in terms of channeling our effort to the issue areas that we actually detect. So
okay, just a couple more minutes, Subhra. Just a couple more minutes, just to kind of wrap up a bit.
Okay, I'm actually done. Those are the 7 themes I thought I should outline and talk about, which kind of comprise the 7 different tracks that we have within our customer experience transformation. I'll be happy to take any questions if you have.
Yeah, Justin, if there's maybe 1 or 2 questions we can have just in the time, and then we can, of course, collect if you have if you had other questions. Anything there, just a particular, just thought of quick note, Justin?
So this works for telecoms. Do you think this approach would work for other industries?
I think some of the basic, which is about the vision and defining the experience, about the operating model, the use of digital. I think those are consistent themes across different industries, and they would work. Similarly, measurement is obviously, again, key, applies to all across industries. So is personalization. So I would think all of those are essentially can be generic in terms of different tracks, an organization would have to use, irrespective of the different sectors within which they operate. I would think so.
So what was the
Anything
most,
else, Justin? Just
yeah.
a quick one.
Yeah, what was the most difficult challenge you had to overcome in transforming the customer experience?
Oh, the consistent challenge, and I think this whole thing needs endorsement right from the CEO. This customer experience used to be, and user experience used to be a corridor conversation before. Now needs to be held in the boardroom. So that's, I think, the consistent challenge is about people breaking the silo mentality that exists within organizations, because customer experience is essentially a transversal and a horizontal kind of an initiative. It's essentially mindset. It's about the silo mentality, and you can't make progress if you don't have endorsement and force it right from the top.
Great. I think we have more questions. Is that correct, Justin? But I think are just a bit out of time. If anyone has questions, if you could just type those in now. Of course, as you see here, we can pass those on to Subhra, and we can, of course, follow up with anyone who would like to follow up on any of these things. This has been recorded and will be on our website, and I think we might have some slides share as well. And you heard Subhra's generous offer if you wanted a little bit more information, say on emotional signature or some things he didn't really show too many slides on, but just had some information. He's willing to share those. Again, if you're interested in that sort of thing, just pass the information through us, and of course we will get it to him, and then we can take it from there. But I want to send out a very warm welcome and thanks to Subhra. It's been great. We always love to hear the story from the client's perspective. And thanks all again for the audience, everyone, for participating. And again, if you have any questions, just send it to us, and we'll pick up from there. Thanks, everyone, and we'll hopefully catch you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.